What was the creepiest thing someone said on the first date? You've actually been talking to my mother. I'm not very good at things like this. Apostrophe. We had sexted. Edit to explain. I'm a girl and mom was texting for her son. Hes just talking on the phone and inserts. It's not like I want to rape you or anything. He tried to contact me for a face-to-face date. I don't respond. He shows up to my office on a campus. Starts raging and gets security called on him and escorted off. Friend told me the guy not only asked for a selfie, but posted on Facebook with the caption "My queen." First time meeting. I invited my ex to join us for lunch. Went on a Tinder date to the movies when I was 18. He picked me up in his truck and played terrible loud depressing music. In the theater, he was on his phone swiping on Tinder the whole time. Then leaned over and told me that I was lucky to be out with him because all these other girls wanted to be with him. Yikes. My roommate picked me up when I excused myself to the bathroom. I told this guy I played the piano, and like half an hour later he said, if I wanted you to always remember me, I'd break your ring fingers, you know, cause they don't heal well, and then you'd always think of me when playing. Apostrophe. Suffice to say, I left the restaurant fairly quickly. Can I cut you and drink it? She was serious. Look, this has to go well. Both of my brother's wives are pregnant with their second children. Do not let me down. Said to me within 3 minutes of sitting down. Mid-date he placed his hand on my stomach and said my son will grow here. Did you date Henry VIII? And your head will go here. Gestures at the bin. I just really like mustard as she continues suck mustard packets. Worst part. We were at a somewhat nice restaurant. She brought mustard to eat. I love Asian girls. They remind me of children. Apostrophe. That isn't a red flag. That's a red banner. It's not a red flag. It's a red light. Then a blue light. Then red again. Then blue. And a loud wee woo noise. Went out with a girl one night, and after dinner she drove me up into the mountains. I was new to the area, and after a while, when there were no more lights, she started talking about serial killers. I still remember her saying I used to think about getting away with stuff like that sometimes. Dude, same happened to me. We went to eat then took a walk at the reservoir and she started talking about serial killers and how it would be a good spot for a body, then proceeded to talk about this movie where there was a killer ghost standard or something. Haha. Went to school with her and asked her out on a date. She's not crazy or anything, but I'm not into that, and it was a first date. Called their mom in front of me to say they met a real winner and how they were done with their ex. Not sure if this counts, but it was really uncomfortable. He wanted to go for a walk at the park with me at 4 AM. So when I said no he said, "Don't worry, I won't rape you," and gave me a twisted smile. I have a relative in banking. I have checked out all of your family financially. WTF. What do you say to that? I want you to carve your initials on my thigh with a knife. She was very serious. He told me he could rape me if he wanted. He wasn't joking. Within knowing each other about an hour he told me he had never wanted kids before, but the moment we met he felt it biologically. Then he told me he wanted to be my son's stepfather as well. When we get married I can wear this dress. First date went back to her place, and while giving me the tour she pulled a beautiful wedding dress out of a closet and said this to me while holding it up to her body. Edit. I actually said AWW put it on, and we can duck, then never called her again. 3 weeks later she called me at midnight. I know you have people watching me. I can't go to work or school with your people sitting across the street all day and night. Not what he said, but what he did. He ducking stole my keys while I was out of the room and took off into the night. We had an hours long standoff where he wouldn't answer my calls or texts begging him to return them. I stood by his truck that was parked a few blocks away making sure that he didn't leave with them. Eventually he dropped them off in my car and I got a ride home from the cops. Honestly one of the scariest episodes of my life. Bragging about going to Cuba and Thailand to meet cheap sex workers. We would have cute babies, or my personal favorite for Halloween we could go as a slave and master. Haha. Get it? Because you're black? Haha. Wow. That second one really puts an even worse twist on the first one. You would be surprised how often I get that second joke growing up in the South. He was in the military, Canadian. I asked him if he ever did any volunteer work overseas with the military and he said, "No. I joined the military to kill people, not to help people." Chugged my beer and got out of there as fast as I could. She was driving us back home from the restaurant and started saying things like, "Yeah, no. You're in my car now, I technically can take you wherever I want. You're like my prisoner." I laughed the first time she mentioned it because I'm into dark humor, but when she kept going on with it, little did she know once I got out of the car, that would be the last time she'd ever see me. Edit. Wow. Wasn't expecting all of these upvotes. First time over 1,000 for me, and it happens to be the post in which I either almost died or cold have had a dominatrix session. Thanks guys/gals. This is not my story, but my mother's. My mom was a pioneer in online dating. She was really interested in finding someone special. She agreed to meet a guy for dinner, first mistake, and went in to be seated prior to him arriving. He came in. The waitress brought menus, and he set down his menu, and the first words he spoke were asking my mom if she has ever known anyone who had a penis enlargement. He then went on to explain that he had flown cross county for this operation, and it had gone wrong. He went into great specifics about just how wrong. My mother excused herself to the ladies' room and left out the back door. We still laugh out loud when she reminds us of her search for Mr. Right. If anyone is out there struggling to find dates, just needs to read this thread and realize if these people can get first dates, you can do anything. A one-night stand once told me I smelled like his mum. He described at length how men are all naturally as violent as those in the movie A Clockwork Orange, and how they actively suppress it to fit in with society. This guy also invited me to a pub and proceeded to drink water while buying me G&Ts. Needless to say, I yeeted out of there real quick. It wasn't something that someone said, but he stole my credit card out of my purse when I wasn't looking. Luckily on the way home I stopped for coffee and noticed it was missing. Froze the account that second. Edit. Okay, let me edit this because I didn't give enough context. It was a horrible date. Please don't confuse this with a sweet guy and a fun date. This guy was incredibly misogynistic, talking bad about his ex-wife, saying most women are whores and bad mothers. He was saying why he doesn't date within his old school Romanian gypsy community is because the women lay there like dead fish during sex, and how he thinks American women are more fun. I know. I clearly didn't vet him enough before hanging out. Of course he went on about politics and how he wants a wall as well to keep out the Mexicans and the Arabs because they are dirty people and Jew you down on everything. His words, not mine. He said he knows this because he's an immigrant and worked along immigrants for years until he built up his own business, but the lazy Mexicans never rise up to own their own business. Needless to say, I gave him the benefit of the doubt and just froze my account while I searched everywhere for 3 days. I did have the card an hour before the date, and I feel like prefacing this with the fact that I have never ever in my entire life misplaced my card. However, for me, you just know. You know when you've been played. You get that gut feeling. Maybe not the creepiest thing, but pretty gross. I was hanging with a guy I met through a mutual friend. So we go out for ice cream and go back to sit in his car to listen to music while we have our ice cream. He's sharing his taste in music with me while rubbing my head/playing with my hair. Didn't quite know how to feel, but I figured he was trying to be romantic. Not too long after this, he got to the bottom of his ice cream cone, the one with the chocolate on the inside, and said, "This is your asshole," and tried to show off his rimming skills, I guess, and thought the chocolate would be cute. Question mark? / I'm cringing just typing this out. Not a good memory. Showed me a long list on her phone of, if I can guess without exaggeration, at least 60 to 70 baby names for when she has a kid, and joked about having baby fever. They were all really country bumpkin names like Brecken and Gatlin too, which somehow made it more unpalatable for me. Edit. She's only 21. I don't blame you for breaking up with her. He wouldn't have Gatlin along with her too well. described in detail how his female commanding officer liked sex with him so much she raped him repeatedly while he was in the army. He said it with so much pride that it seemed as though it was meant to impress me. Edit. It is possible this was a coping mechanism, or him trying to convince himself. It simply came with an I'm this good at sex vibe. And I had known this man for less than 2 hours. To me it was the most uncomfortable first date I've had. After getting us lost on the way back to my friend's house, late at night, in a state I was only visiting. What? Do you think I'm going to take you out into the woods and rape you? Lol. Apostrophe. He had a loaded gun rack in his truck, and a knife on his belt. I was 15. It was not funny. This guy wasn't talking at all, and I only brought a few talking points cause normally they talk the whole time. I didn't have anything else to say and asked him to start talking and he said, "What I want to talk about can't be said in public." When I ended the date he thought we were going to go to my place to talk and I said no. I got in my car, noted what car he got into, and took a few breaths to calm down. I looked around and his car was still there. I waited 30 minutes before he left the parking lot and stayed another 15 before I left. We met online and had been chatting for a while before meeting face to face. Soon into the date, he began to talk about how we would be telling the story of this date to our grandchildren. Honestly, if I was vibing with him it might have been a romantic story, but instead it just kind of freaked me out. He asked me if I'd rather go on a cruise or to a resort for our honeymoon, then sent me a text later to tell me he showed one of his clients my picture and the client told him his girlfriend was pretty. Please subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more of Reddit universe.